Well, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the After Effect Podcast Show. I'm your host, LeBron Stephen, but you can call me LBZ, L Boogie, Big Brian B, Brian, LB, Bronny. The choice is yours. Welcome to episode 82. We have a very, very special guest, Noel Grigsby, the Community Affairs and Engagement Intern for the Los Angeles Rams. He's on the show today. Crenshaw native, played his football at Crenshaw High School, the infamous Crenshaw High School. Continued his playing career at San Jose State University, where he set records for receptions and yards with 237 receptions and 3,121 yards and 17 touchdowns. Me and Noel met on the All-American set acting. He was a stunt football player and stand-in for some of the main characters. Built the relationship there. We've cultivated this relationship over the last couple of years. And yeah, now Noel works for the Los Angeles Rams. So super uber excited to get him on the show, talk about the after effect of his career, and you know what he does now. So just send him the link, and once he jumps on, we will go in.
This stride at the right time. So my hope is
well, yeah, man, I know you don't have a lot of time, man, so we can dive right into it. This is called the After Effects Show. I started about 2 years ago. It's always been my belief that, you know, all of us Division I athletes, Division II, wherever you play, we all have an after effect or aftershock. I've always felt like that transition out of sports was minimized. But this is kind of just a free and safe space for us, like kind of normal guys or guys that kind of like didn't make it to kind of have a voice and relive that journey and just, you know, talk about some of those lessons and kind of give some of that game pretty much to the next generation, try to push the culture forward, if that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. That's fire.
Yeah, definitely, man.
Fire.
So let's just talk about, I'm not sure if your role has changed, but I did my research. I saw that you were the Community Affairs and Engagement Intern for the Los Angeles Rams. If you are still that or if it's changed, just kind of expound on how that opportunity came about. I know a couple guys. I know a guy that works in the front office for the Falcons. I know a couple NFL coaches, but I think when you grow up in environments like we did, it's these type of positions, they seem kind of like untouchable, right? So kind of just like expound on how the opportunity came about and how it's going.
Yeah, so I think it was July 26th of last year when I officially started at the Community Engagement Intern. I took an internship class at UC Irvine. One of my boys I went to middle school with, who's still one of my closest friends, Rashad Moore. He was teaching a class there. He was the assistant athletic director, I think in like annual gifts. He recently got promoted and moved over to USC, but he had an internship class, and I had just transitioned back into like the sports realm. I was going to school, getting my MBA in sports management, and I was trying to find like more like experience, right? I was still teaching. I was still working, but I needed that sports experience, right? Because I was trying to make myself, a little bit more, I guess, applicable, right? When I was applying to these jobs, right? So it made it look like I had more experience. And internship was really the only time I had while I was still doing full-time work. So he brought a couple folks through. One lady, her name was Maria Saab. She came from the Rams, and she was just talking about making sure you leverage your connections and your networking. Right. So I thought back, I'm like, I know somebody that worked for the Rams. And I mean, I think I had ran across him at like Valley Ridge working out. Right. And I had got his number and I had got his card. I'm like, you know what, I'm going to leverage my network. So I hit him up, told him I had already applied for the internship position. He was like, oh, okay, we hopped on a call. We talked real quick, and I told him, I would love just the opportunity to interview. Right. I'm not looking for a favor or anything. I just need a way in the door, right? You get me in front of the right people, I can sell myself.
Of course.
Right. So I was blessed to go through all the interviews. Hadn't heard back from them for a while. And then randomly while I was teaching, I think during COVID, we had just got back. I started getting emails like, oh, we want you to do a, interview so. I'm like, all right, okay. So I started interviewing, and God did the rest, bro. And I mean,
how many rounds of interviews was it?
I probably interviewed with like 4 or 5 different people, yo.
I figured that.
Yeah. I mean, mind you, this was an opportunity I had applied for maybe several years prior. because the Rams most NFL teams always drop the jobs that they have coming up in March, maybe a little bit before, because that's coming off of like the season. That's when teams are starting to gear back up because they want to prepare to bring interns and new employees in throughout that time. Normally the interns start in like June, July. So I had applied for that job a couple of times, but it's all about leveraging your network. That's what I've learned in this business and in this world. It's not necessarily about, what you know, but about who you know. Right?
Yeah, man. That's powerful.
Yeah. So I interned for a year. Recently, I think in July, I was just promoted to social justice and football development coordinator. So
congrats on
I've been
that,
in
man.
that role. Yes, sir. Been in that role for about a month and some change now.
Okay. Yeah. So like what was interesting to me, just from following your stories and kind of the good energy that you put out into the world was that, because I majored in sports management too. My bachelor's is in sports management, but I was always on the fence about going back to school, going to grad school and getting an MBA in sports management, just because, we went to school for free in undergrad. So I'm like, man, do I really want to put myself in debt to only struggle to find a job?
Absolutely.
Because, it's not a lot of sports management jobs, as you know. But I thought it was interesting that you went back and furthered your education, got your MBA, but then removed the ego, took a step back and intern for a year. So like, where did that come from? I know you grew up in PK. I know you grew up in the infamous Crenshaw district, man. But like, where did that come from to just kind of have that wherewithal to know that, okay, I furthered my education, and instead of having this ego and saying like I would never do an intern at this age after everything that I've been through, that you kind of just walked into that. Obviously, you did a great job. Y'all won a Super Bowl, and now you're a coordinator and you have a role.
Man, I'm praying and fasting. No. But yeah, I mean, it takes understanding like this new phase in your life, right? Oftentimes we get caught up in who we used to be, right? And now you got to get comfortable with starting over, right? And starting from square one. So I removed, and I've learned to, push aside the Noel, the star athlete and everything else, and now put myself in this new phase of my life. In this new phase, I was starting over, right? So in starting over, sometimes you got to suffer a little bit before you can get to your glory. So it's a constant reminder day in and day out and conversation with myself that, like, bro, we got to get it. And in order to get it, we got to start from the bottom, right? So I ain't gonna lie, it was tough. But at the same time, I knew what the end goal. My boss always says you want to start with the end goal in mind. So I started there, right? I'm like, yeah, I got an MBA in sports management. Yeah, majority of the people I work with don't have 2 degrees. But at the end of the day, my degree isn't going to get me in the door, right? My degree is going to, once I get to the point where I want to be, it's going to prevent them from saying that there's something that I don't have.
Right.
Right.
Facts.
It's just going to make sure that I'm qualified when I get to my end goal. Right. So I had to start. I needed the experience. I needed my foot in the door, and the opportunity to work for, the Los Angeles Rams, which is in my backyard, like serving the community that, I grew up in. I know
that's a crazy feeling to be in the streets and be in that environment, like you said, that you grew up in, for the team, especially like the Super Bowl champions.
It's a dream come true, bro. Like, there's no greater reward than being able to serve the community that you come from and do it on like the highest level on a professional team, right? Like we play ball, right? And the dream was always to make it to the NFL and be one of those players to where you go back, like everybody love you. But now, I'm not on the field, but I'm still representing an NFL organization. Now I have more of a touch to these kids and to these communities and to these schools. So, God worked it out, bro. So, it definitely took some humility each and every day, having to, break myself down. But the idea was that I'm gonna build myself back up once I get to the point where I want to be. So.
I love that. Breaking yourself down and build yourself back up, man. That's some game right there. I like it.
Man.
So, man, talk about growing up in the Crenshaw district in the 90s. I always say this, and I know we're getting older, but I always say, like, we just didn't grow up. I have a 20-year-old brother, and we didn't grow up like the kids now. Like, we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have camera phones, we didn't have social media. I think that I always say that the world in the 90s was a more interactive world, right? Because you had to go out and make friends. You had to talk to people live in person. You didn't have a phone to be on the whole time, or iPad, or all these different games. It was a more interactive world. So seeing some of the movies that kind of portrayed the Crenshaw district, it resonated with me as a young man. I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, but the inner cities looked the same. It's just, it looked like on TV that y'all had palm trees in the inner city, which was like, which was different for me, but they looked the same. Yeah. So like, kind of talk about what it was like growing up there in the 90s. Like, I know you grew up a pastor's kid, so I'm sure you had that anchor there as your parents, as your anchor to stay on that straight and narrow and to only hang out with guys like you that had the same interests. Those are some of the gems that my parents gave me, and that's how a lot of guys are able to make it out of the inner city, or, you know, strive to do something better. So just kind of paint us a picture on what it was like growing up there in the 90s.
I mean, in my opinion, man, the 90s is the best era to grow up in. Right. I mean, we had the best of both worlds, right? So I'm 91, so I grew up in the 90s, but I didn't really like know what I was doing. I didn't know where I was going until like the 2000s, right? But I mean, it was a different time. I mean, I remember like today on a Saturday, like I would wake up, maybe not even eat breakfast, watch cartoons, and after that, I was running outside to play either basketball, baseball, football, riding my bikes, you know, with the homies, right? It wasn't necessarily about hopping on the phone, being on YouTube. Like you said, it was more interactive. So we were looking to, to get out there and work, right?
Right.
We were trying to do anything possible, whether it was playing hide and go seek, we was playing freeze tag. I mean, we were out there until from maybe I would say about 10:30 to about the lights came on.
I was about to say to the street lights came on. I had to be able to street lights came on.
And if it was summer, we got a little bit extra time. So
right, you know it.
Bruh. So I mean, it was a beautiful time. And I think what it taught us how to socialize and work with other people, right? If you look at folks from the 90s and before, like a lot of my homies and a lot of people that I know, we can interact and we can find our niche with anybody, right? Exactly. Because we have to grow up in an area where you have to communicate with people.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I think that was the benefit of it. And at the same time, we caught like the internet,
right?
World Wide Web young. So we are a combination of both eras.
Exactly.
So I think we're the best of both worlds. So we know how to work technology. And at the same time, we know how to interact. We know how to socialize. And we know how to network. So, I mean, I love the 90s. I grew up in a big family. I got, 3 siblings, but, my mom had like 8 or 9 brothers and sisters, right?
Okay, so you got a lot of uncles and aunties.
A lot of cousins, right? So we would, my people from Polk County, Florida, man. So that's the country part of Florida. Yeah. So we would go out there. I mean, it'd be about 30 of us. We would drive out there sometimes in like 2 vans, and we would be out there in the middle of the country catching lizards, going fishing. Yeah. Like the best part was going to Walmart and maybe Krispy Kreme. So we had to deal with each other. We had to, walk to go swimming, walk to the liquor store. And that's the beauty of it, right? I tell people we didn't grow up with much in terms of like materialistic and things, but we grew up with everything in terms of love, in terms of family. And that has carried me, my siblings, and my family, I mean, for, these 30 plus years that I've been on this earth. So I'm blessed.
Definitely, man. I can definitely attest to that. Like you said, that's a perfect way to explain it. Like we're in that perfect generation because we know how to interact and connect with people live in person and like be in the room, be present. But like you said, the World Wide Web came out, I believe, in like 98 or 99. So we learned at a young age how to navigate that as well. You know what I mean? So yeah, I agree, man. So kind of like talk about when your light switch hit on. I always say for any elite athlete, if you're recruited, you always know when that light switch hit on, you start to notice that you're a lot better than everybody. You start noticing that you make a lot more plays, and then the letters start to come and eventually the offers and things like that. So for me, I would say it was probably like 10th grade. I had a really good sophomore season in high school, and then the letters flooded in, the offers flooded in, and it started, the dream became a reality, right? I would sit there in my living room floor. My dad made me lay out newspaper on the floor. I sit there on the floor, eat my little McDonald's, watch the college games, watch the NFL games. And that dream, at first, it seemed untouchable, right? You watching these guys on ABC, CBS, like, damn, how did they get there? But then in 10th grade, that's when it became a reality. Like, okay, no, like I think I could actually do this. So like, when was that for you? When did that light switch on for you? I love hearing this because some guys have it early in 8th grade. Some guys have it late in like 11th or 12th. So when was that for you?
So me, it was definitely later. I would probably say 11th grade. So originally going into high school, I wasn't going to play football. I was just going to hoop.
Okay.
I had played Pop Warner 1 year, and I didn't really like it, to be honest with you. I was playing midget. That's our highest division, so that's what all the bigger kids.
Yeah.
And I was like 107 pounds, and I was playing middle linebacker. I was getting ran over. I was getting ran over, bro. Like I remember telling my pops at the first game, like, yo, I don't want to do this, right? But my pops was like, man, we start where we finish. Right? And that was just some solid advice. So I made it through the season. I'm going on to high school. Like, I'm just gonna hoop. I already made the JV basketball team, and Crenshaw basketball team is renowned like all through the high school world as one of the best programs. Shout out to Willie West. I'm in the Crenshaw basketball squad. But one of my homeboys, Travis, challenged me, and I ended up going off of the team. And I played JV 1 year. I moved up varsity 10th grade. I started every game in varsity 10th grade. Didn't catch a single pass I received. Right.
Oh wow.
So that was a humbling experience, right?
Oh, I
That's
bet
like
it was.
15 games. 15 games. I was the other slot, started every game. I think I might have got like 4 passes thrown my way. But my junior year, the first game, I think the first catch, we had a new field, new stadium. I took it 60 to the crib. Right. So that's like, and I think I scored 2 touchdowns that game. And after my junior year, I scored like 15 touchdowns on like 36 catches. Okay. And after that, I'm like, yo, like this could really work. Right. Mind you, I'm 5'8.5". I'm 150 pounds. So I'm like, it ain't gonna be easy, but the numbers is looking good, right?
Yeah.
Played against some top-notch teams. So I'm like, yo, this could work. And in high school, I was doing everything, bro. Like I played football, played basketball, ran track. We did volleyball when we could. When I got to my senior year, I was going to all different types of academic seminars, trying to figure out how to write my personal statement, applying for schools academically. Because man, my parents didn't have it. I had 2 older sisters who went to college.
Yeah, mine didn't.
My sister went to UC Santa Barbara. My other sister went to Bethune-Cookman in Florida. Okay. So my mom's like, "Yo, you gonna have to figure it out." Yeah, so I didn't put my eggs in just one basket, man. I went all in on every single lane. And 11th grade, it kind of clicked to me. I'm like, "Yo, you really got an opportunity." But I was a smaller kid. I wasn't the fastest kid, so I'm like, "You really gonna have to earn it." So that's junior year. I started playing more defense. I kept balling out at receiver. I mean, towards the end of the season, that's when I got my first offer after the season was over. And God bless me, San Jose State was the first person there from there. So, yeah, and that's where I ended up going. But nah, I mean, 11th grade is where it clicked like, yo, I could really go to school for free off of this. I see my homies doing it. Yeah, right? It wasn't just like, a wishful thinking. It was like, yo, this is a reality if you really put the time and the work in and you stay on it.
Exactly. So, and I always tell guys, like, it's kind of a crazy feeling, like when that hits you, like you say, when that first offer comes in, and it's like, oh wow, like this is really happening. Like, and for me, that turned me up even more. I'm sure it did the same thing for you. Like it turned me up. I'm like, okay, once I got the first offer, and the offer started coming in, I'm like, oh yeah, no, like that's like, this is where I'm supposed to be at. I'm supposed to be, where my feet are. And like that turned me up. I started working out harder, just going harder, like, you know what I mean? So did you have any other schools come in the picture, or did you already know that San Jose State was where you were going to go?
No, I mean, I was a UCLA guy, man, junior year. I mean, quiet as kept. I mean, I was the talk was that they was going to offer me after the season, and then the coach ended up getting fired. That was called derailing the folk. Okay. But I mean, after my senior year, San Jose State, Hawaii, Boise State, New Mexico State, and I had some interest from like Stanford, Washington State, and a couple other schools who start coming on late. Okay. So I wasn't gonna sign on signing day because in my mind I'm like, yo, like, San Jose, excuse me, all these schools is love, but like everybody, folks is telling me like if this dude don't sign it, they're gonna possibly pick me up and this, that, and the third. But I had to like again kind of fall back and humble myself. I'm like, yo, this opportunity of a lifetime. Like you don't want to pass it up because you waiting on a maybe when you got all these yeses in front of you, right? And San Jose just happened to be. I mean, they recruited me the right way. They was telling me all the right things. Like, yo, if you don't sign today, we still gonna keep the offer out for you. I'm like, why y'all ain't even got to do that for me? Right. I went up there and it was love. I mean, it was far away from home that I could kind of get away from my situation and my circumstance. but it was close enough that I can get home when I needed to. Only 5 hours away on the drive, 45 minutes on the flight. And it just felt right. It felt right.
Right.
They recruited me as a corner, and everybody else was either corner or receiver. Hawaii was just too far, bro. And I didn't think Boise really wanted me for who I was. I think they were just trying to get my boy. So San Jose State was the best option and ended up being the best thing for me.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense. So I saw that you redshirted in 2009. So just kind of talk about that transition. I love speaking about this because I think the transition gets lost in translation going from, your local city, wherever you're from, and then transition into that full-time college student where it's a crazy grind. I always call it an overtime job. When you're talking about going to classes, you're talking about meetings, and you're talking about all your training sessions and practices and study hall and just everything. It's always long days. And I know the transition was hard for me. I don't really know how the Crenshaw district, the layout of it, or I'm not sure if it was diverse, but coming from where I'm coming from in Cleveland, Ohio, it wasn't diverse. I probably went to school with maybe 2 white people my entire from kindergarten to 12. I had some white teachers, but I never really had to interact with anyone around my age that didn't look like me, right? So going from Cleveland, Ohio to Iowa City, Iowa, which is a 98% white state, that transition was very tough for me. It took me about 6 months I redshirted my freshman year too, but I just didn't feel comfortable. Like I didn't feel comfortable when I would get on the campus bus. Everyone is like staring, obviously because we were a football school, but it's just the transition. I didn't really feel like knee deep in the community until probably about 6 months. Came in August, probably not till like December or January the next year of when I kind of like felt comfortable. So how was your transition? Was it kind of smooth? Was it easy, or did you have any struggles at all?
I mean, it was tough for sure, bro. Like, I mean, you come from a community that you grew up in all your life for 18 years, and they throw you into a completely different situation and ask you to be a man for the most part. Right. I've been a boy for 18 years. Now I gotta be a man. Like, okay, I gotta get, we've got ourselves up. I gotta get myself up, for workouts at 5:30 a.m. And ain't nobody gonna remind me to get up. Right. I gotta make sure I go to class, and ain't nobody gonna force me to go to class. And I gotta do all these things within a day that I've never had to do before. Exactly. So it was tough, and when you look at it from that lens, but at the same time, it was tough emotionally as well, right? So I'm used to being around my family, my loved ones, having them, in arm's distance, and now they're not there, right? So I was homesick for the first like 6 months, for sure, and I was going back and forth from home, for a long time whenever I could when I redshirted, right? So. That was the one thing about redshirting that, was kind of bittersweet. I can get home when I needed to, but I think I got home too much, right? It just made me miss home more, right? Until I got to my second semester, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to stay here. I'm going to force myself to kind of get acclimated to this new environment, right? And that's when I started to grow. Like, I got to forget what I'm used to. This is where I'm at now, and I got to make it work. I can't go back home. I ain't going to go back home. My mom ain't going to let me go back home. So it was tough, man, on all fronts. And, bro, I got to San Jose, I think, at 156 pounds. So I wasn't ready to play. Right. The game speed was, a little bit faster. Yeah, I could play with these boys, but I need to get used to, like, the playbook, which is completely different. You ain't got 8 plays. Now you got 30, 40 plays that you got to memorize. At the same time, forcing yourself to eat, getting used to, working out early in the morning, practicing, then going to class, then coming back for film. Like, we wasn't doing that in high school. Like, I'm from the inner city, right? We wasn't doing stuff like that. So I had to get acclimated to this new way of playing football. And I mean, I'm a firm believer. I mean, redshirting was the best thing for me. I started 4 years, right? So I mean, I know people, true freshmen, this, that, and the third. I think sometimes we need that period to kind of get to know ourselves. And so we can be better players and better students, because the goal is to get there and graduate. Exactly. Right? So I needed that extra semester to do that. And I mean, it was the best thing for me. I'm happy that I was able to redshirt.
Yeah. Same here, man. Because I went to college, I was undersized. So 6'2", but I only weighed like 218. Trying to play rush linebacker in the Big Ten. Like that's not gonna happen. So I knew I had to redshirt. But yeah, like the football part was, I wouldn't say it was easy. It's great that you brought up the emotional aspect of it, because I was 10 hours away from home, so it wasn't no going back like as much as I could. Like I went back for Thanksgiving, you know what I mean, and that was it. But yeah, man, just finding out who you really are. I was always like that responsible guy. I'm getting up one time, I'm going to be early, I'm not going to miss any classes, I'm going to do my schoolwork, I'm going to apply myself, right? But that aspect of just not feeling like you're in that circle, like socially. I think I struggled more socially. The football part was hard, but I transitioned pretty well. The academic part was hard, I transitioned pretty well. But the social part, making friends and just feeling normal in a social space, that's probably why I struggled at the most. But yeah, man. So it looks like you kind of hit the ground running. Like you got the receiving record for receptions and yards at your school, 237 receptions, 121 yards, 17 touchdowns. Just talk about after that 2009 season, and then walking into that 2010 and having 56 catches, 822 yards, and then just continuing to get better and better and just building every year. Like talk about just that, going from that redshirt year to getting on the field. And like you said, you were undersized, you put on some weight. I'm sure you probably paid at 175, 180, but just balling those first 3 years, like kind of like out your mind.
My boy Chandler Jones, he's from LA too. That was my roommate when I first got there. Like we roomed during camp together. So I'm a little bit taller than him. He about I'm gonna give him 5'9.5". I'm gonna say I'm 5'10" on a good day. So we were like 1-2 punch from the jump. We were littler dudes. I weighed in at 156. He weighed in at 152, and at the time he was a walk-on. But we got there. I mean, and they was like they told us we was never gonna play, right? So we would be in a room just talking, like we had a chip on our shoulder from jump. We traveled together every single time from all throughout those 4 seasons. And it was just like, bro, we got something to prove, right? We got to prove that first off we belong here, and we're not proving it to them. I mean, but we gonna make ourselves look. We gonna prove it to ourselves, right? So naturally, it was that chip. So once after we redshirted that first year, which was our redshirt freshman year. I mean, you know how it is in camp. Folk go down. Some folk transfer, right? So now it's looking to your left and to your right, and it's like it ain't too many more folk up in here, right? And if it is, like, first game, man, was against Alabama, man. It was coming off the national championship. 100,000 folks in the stands, Sweet Home Alabama. And I remember, I think I caught passing one like 50. I would have went to the crib, but I think, Drake Kirkpatrick, he was first round draft pick. So somebody got me on the angle. But from there, it's like, yo, like this is national champions. Yeah. So if I got action against these folks, I got action against everybody.
Versus everybody,
and it's just a mentality. I mean, I'm from the Crenshaw district. I mean, LA. I mean, in my opinion, man, I think California got the best ball. I mean, no disrespect. And outside that's
opinionated. That's opinionated.
I know you from Cleveland. I know you from Cleveland, man. Shout out to Ohio, man. I know y'all got good ball out there.
You know it. Midwest ball.
But I'm a firm believer, man, that in terms of states, California got some of the best talent, especially coming out of LA.
No,
I'm like, yo,
I would agree with that.
I was playing against cats that went to SC, UCLA, playing some against cats that went to the SEC. So I'm like, yo, I done played against some of the best of the best, right? So I can play with these dudes. Matter of fact, I've been playing against these dudes. So I mean, and God just showed me favor, bro. I stayed healthy those first 3 years, man, and I just kept at it. I kept that chip on my shoulder. I kept trying to get better. And yeah, man, the ball would find me. And once if you as a receiver, man, if your quarterback find trust in you, like if I'm like, bro, throw it up. I'm gonna make a play for you. And I ain't gonna let nobody touch your rock because I want it just as bad as you do, right? So I'm gonna make sure that nobody touch. I don't want nobody to touch my rock, and I'm gonna for sure make sure nobody touch your rock, right? So at the end of the day, they start showing me love, and I was
that 2012 season, 1,307 yards, 9 touchdowns. I mean that's like if you those are like NFL stats. Like if you was in the league, that's a Pro Bowl season. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like if that's a contract year, you getting that contract. So like,
they're gonna throw me 20.
Yeah, like what was that year like kind of just ride that wave? Like, okay, you had a couple 100-yard games, but to keep getting these 100-yard games, to keep balling like that, like you said, you stay healthy in the first 3 years. Like, what was that season like to have a season like that? Especially like you said, being deemed as undersized or being told you weren't gonna play early on. Like, what did that feel like?
I mean, it was beautiful, bro. I had something to prove. At the same time, I mean, the squad was so young when I started. We had a lot of like true freshmen playing, a lot of redshirt freshmen playing. So we were still learning how to win in college ball, right? So my first year, I think we went 1-12, and we lost like 7 games with under 7 points, right? So it's, our coach would talk about, we start fast, but we're not finishing strong. So you have to learn how to be a winner, learn how to finish, right? We giving up touchdowns, we fumbling the ball, they blocking kicks. And it's like, yo, we can't win no matter how. Second year, a little bit of the same. We went like 5-7, but we tricked a couple off, close ones, blowing leads and whatnot. So that third year is like, been through this road twice. Now we know how to close out the big ones. We got experience. We got a new quarterback. Shout out to my guy, David Fields, man, who just retired from the league. Backup quarterback for a while, man.
Nice.
We had great leadership on that team. And really, man, it got to the point where I'm like, man, they didn't say everything about me. My sophomore year, I mean, we couldn't really throw the ball deep downfield. It was like, oh man, he's a short yardage game guy, like no run after the catch. My first year it was all deep passes, right? But I didn't have the complete package. My junior year, I got a little bit bigger, I got a little bit faster. Man, they voted me captain. I'm like, bro, this is my time to shine. So I mean, we started off against Stanford, and I'll never forget, bro. We played Stanford, and I mean, I don't think I caught a pass the first half. Like, we was going in a different direction. And they was like, oh, we're going to come your way. I said, I'm ready, right? So from there, I mean, I think against Stanford, I scored a touchdown. I might have had close to like 90 yards. And I'm like, bro, this is my time. So it's just understanding the game at that point, knowing like where and when, like, to take it up to the next level. Because if we needed a first down, they knew where to go. At the same time, I mean, I wasn't a big dude, but I'm like, yo, like, find me in the red zone, bro. I'll go up and get it for you. They start putting trust in me. I mean, and after that, man, I mean, God moved, and I had, one of the best years. And in that junior year, man, that's when I broke the record. I mean, to do it in 3 years, man, was a blessing. Shout out to my boy Chandler, though. He's actually the leading receptions leader. I'm still receiving yards. I think I have receptions in the season. But he got the reception.
Okay, he's full reception. Okay, and so this next segue is what I love talking about, man. Unfortunately enough, as you know, all athletes go through some turbulence, some adversity. You know what I mean? I kind of had a similar thing because I redshirted. So through my first 3 seasons, no injuries, no surgeries, no missed games. I don't even think I ever missed a practice. and then I didn't start. I was a 1-year starter. I didn't start till my senior season, but I went crazy in spring ball to kind of like solidify my senior year. You know how it is in Division I. You had one good season. That's all you need. So had a great spring ball, and then you have those 2 or 3 weeks between spring ball and finals. So usually that's when you max out on all your lifts. Get your bumps before you get 2 weeks off before summer camp starts. So. But long story short, man, I ended up tearing my pec doing my bench press. So I had already did my squat, got my bump, killed my squat, my hand clean, killed my hand clean, my snatch, killed it. My bench was the last one. This was the last session before finals week. Going into my senior year, feeling good, feeling healthy, like going crazy, right? 4 years in the weight room. I'm ready to start in the Big Ten. And I'm talking about 390 on the bar. Like, I'm strong as hell, bro. Like, I'm brolic. I'm on my 8th rep. They stopping me at 10. I'm killing it. With 390, like halfway up. So obviously, it falls on my stomach. 8 people got to come grab it off me, and it was just ugly. The trainers trying to grab my chest. They trying to like feel my pec, and they can't feel it, right? So when I say I was depressed, like, I had cut out everything. I wasn't drinking. I wasn't having sex. When I say I was locked in, I was locked in. So to put in all that work and then for that to happen, that was probably the worst, feeling. And then I had to rehab the whole summer. I ended up coming back from my senior year and starting the first game, but I wasn't the same player, man. Like, I didn't start to become who I was until probably like the 6th or 7th game in my senior season. Like, so I played decently, but I didn't ball like, right? Like I thought I would. So I saw that in 2013, you had an injury that pretty much like derailed your senior year. So like I said, I'd like to say, man, just talk about, man, that emotional roller coaster that athletes go through, man. And I think back then there were no platforms. Guys didn't have all these like shows and podcasts and all that. A lot of people weren't talking about it, right? It was kind of like it was like a secret. Like maybe we talked about it in the locker room, but no one really knew. So just talk about that emotional roller coaster going through your injury and then having all that success those first 3 years.
Yeah.
Your senior year, when you know you're gonna really try to ball out, that it kind of got derailed.
Yeah. First off, man, why they had you hitting 390 for 10 reps? Man, they gotta chill out, bro. That's a lot of reps.
I had one of the highest benches, so like that was just
okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
But no, to speak on that, yeah, I was coming off my junior year, like you said, like 1,300, like 9 touchdowns. I mean, I think that was top 10 in almost every category, and I mean NCAA in terms of receiving yards. So, I mean, you starting to hear it, right? You know, just like in high school, like, oh man, it just clicked. Like not only do I got a shot at like graduating and going to school for free and playing D1 ball, but when I got a shot at going to the league and possibly getting drafted.
Okay. So you start hearing that talk.
So I'm like, yo, like, yeah, get a little faster, put a little weight on. So I'm locked in, bro. I'm locked in. Mind you, after my junior year, I ended up pledging. So I ended up becoming a Bruz. And I'm getting to the point now where it's like, yo, like I got a shot. Like this now it's not just to go to school for free. This is like to put my family in a different, like in a whole different tax bracket, right? This is like get mama out the a new crib and whatnot. So that's my thought process.
Right.
Going smooth throughout, training camp. I'm elected captain and everything. I'm balling out. And I think after the first game we played, Sacramento State scored a touchdown. I mean, I did enough, right? So to follow up your junior year, you ain't got to really match the numbers, but you got to just make sure that people need to know or want to know that it wasn't last year wasn't a fluke.
Right, it wasn't a fluke,
right?
I
think we was shout out to my boy. I mean, I think we was doing like receiver DB drill, and as a captain and leader of the group, I mean, I got to step up for my guys. So one of my guys got beat one day, right, by one of the DBs, and I'm like, the next time I'm like, coach, I need backs for the homie, right? So we go, it's like just like a block and drill, one of the young cats, and I don't think he went hard. I think he was like, oh, this is the captain of the team. I'm an older dude, like that. He can't really go hard. I'm like, at the end of the day, we compete. And that's one thing in football, you got to go full speed because that's how somebody get hurt. Then we go, and it's kind of like he just like fall, and I go over him, and I roll over him, and I come down on my knee the wrong way. Right? I'm like, that feel kind of weird. I don't think none of it. I finished practice, but my lateral movement is different, right? So I ended up partially tearing my meniscus. Right? I go get an MRI. They're like, yo, you could possibly, play on it. It could, heal on its own. But if not, you still got some time before you could decide to medical redshirt. So I'm like, all right, man, we got Stanford next week. I want to make sure I can help my team out. I got folks coming to the game, so I'm going to see what I can do. Play against Stanford. I mean, score a touchdown. Should have been 2, but the rest was politicking. Have a good game. Then the next week we got a bye. We're gonna go play Minnesota. Okay. We're going to your part of town. I'm like, I ain't gonna miss Minnesota.
Right.
Real quick, catch a pass, do like a quick little move, turn, my knee lock up. My meniscus is called a bucket handle, so it flips on top of each other. So I can't get full extension in my legs. So I go get an MRI. They tell me you're done for the season, and we can't get you a medical red shirt. I'm like,
that was my question because I saw it because that happened early in the season. So like, why couldn't they grant you? Because it would seem like that would be like an automatic medical red shirt. Then you would have that next season.
So I mean, it's been a lot of back and forth, and I kind of just let it go. I mean, initially, I guess they were saying because I redshirted early and it wasn't due to injury, I guess a medical redshirt has to. In order to redshirt a medical redshirt, it has to be due to injury on both seasons or something that I don't think is legit.
Right, that don't even sound right.
Yeah, but that's what they told me. Like we had a new head coach. I'm not sure exactly what it was. I've learned to let it go.
Yeah, but I'm sure that was hard to let go at first.
Come on, bro.
Right.
you just told me something completely different, right? And I told my people this, like, this is my career, this is my life.
Exactly.
Right. So I get to, and then they tell me, and I'm the captain of the team, it's my second year being the captain. They tell me I can't travel. So I'm at the crib. I'm like, man, like I don't even. It's not even the fact that I want to travel for my team, right? Because I'm the captain. I'm the leader, right?
That's the least they can do. Why didn't they want you to travel? Do you think it had anything to do because it was a new head coach or
new head coach? I think also, I think the thought process, which I understand, he didn't want like people to see me hurt and then be like demoralized. But I'm like, if anything, like me being on the sideline and encouraging my guys should be motivating to them. Like, I'm the leader of this team. I was voted the leader of this team.
You're going to help coach them up. You're going to tell them what you're seeing. Like you want to see them ball. You want to see the team win.
Yeah. So I mean, and again, I had to work to let it go, but I struggled. Like I tell people all the time, bro, I was depressed.
Of course.
I was all over the place, bro. So I resorted to doing stuff that I didn't need to be doing, right? Like just like staying out, doing like not really like giving a care. I wasn't locked in no more. Right. And I had one class to graduate. And I barely passed that class, if I'm being completely honest with you. And it wasn't nothing hard. Right. It's just, me being in a headspace where I'm like I might have like missed it all. Like, trying to figure out why.
Right.
Questioning myself, questioning like, God, questioning the situation.
Yeah, man.
But that rehab is what got me through. So shout out to, the athletic squad and the trainers there, man, who motivated me and got me through, because a meniscus is tough, right? Like it's trying to get back to full extension, right? And
especially being a skilled player, especially being a receiver.
Like having to put them weights on the back of your leg for 5 minutes at a time just to try to force your leg to be able to get full extension, bro, it's tough. But the trainers held me down even in them days where I was like an emotional wreck. And I was going through it and folks didn't even know it. I leaned on what I grew up on, bro. I leaned on my faith. My parents were great. But it was something that I needed to go through that prepared me for like manhood, right?
Exactly.
I think as college football athletes, man, we call ourselves men. But I mean, I think that everything is kind of planned out for us, right? In terms of our schedule, when we go to school, when we wake up, like we don't necessarily have to like plan our own days to like go out and get it, in the sense that we are football players of the university of whatever we go to, right? But manhood is a different aspect. That's like you throwing me out in the wild and I don't have nothing and I got to go and find it myself. I got to decide my own schedule. I got to decide when I'm going to wake up, how I'm going to eat, and this, that, and the third. So it prepared me for manhood after college. I ended up recovering. I ended up going to pro day, doing good enough numbers. Okay. Raiders ended up picking me up free agent. Okay. My knee was never like 100%. Okay. So I had to sign waivers when I got there. But getting through that point in that process emotionally was tough, man. But I leaned on my faith. The trainers helped me get through. My parents, my family, my close friends. So it's definitely a trial and tribulation. And again, we're gonna go through some tough times and we're gonna go through some suffering in this lifetime. And I think one of the best things I've learned is not to get caught up in the question and answer session, and really just put your best foot forward and get to working. Right? It's just another test. It's another test placed in front of you, and we got the answers, we got the resources to pass the test, right? To overcome the obstacle. We just got to put in the work. And we can't get caught up in everything outside. We got to just lock in. So,
yeah. Stint that you had with the Raiders in 2014, and then obviously after that, or after they cut ties with you, just talk about that. Whatever transition, into like whatever direction you feel like you wanted to go after your stint with the Raiders, because that's what I love talking about on this show, man. That transition from, you've had a 10 to 15-year relationship with your respective sport, right? Your football, your basketball, or it seems like it's over and you have to make a career choice. Like, okay, am I going to try to go play in the CFL or Arena League and try to get an agent to shop this stuff around to try to still get the NFL dream? Or all in the midst of like, okay, I need to go get a job too, because like I gotta pay these bills. Yep. Like you said, that transition into manhood, it's such a weird space when you're trying to figure it out. So like, talk about that transition for you, because I know, like, I'm sure after the Raiders, you probably like maybe delve into some acting, or you probably had a job here or there. So kind of, because obviously we met on the All-American set, doing stunts and stand-in work and stuff like that. But Just talk about that transition. Like, were you just trying stuff out and just or throwing stuff out there, seeing what's stuck, or like trying to figure out kind of what brought you joy other than football? Or like, what was that transition like for you?
Yeah, man, I was trying to find myself, bro, and I would say it took me a while.
Mhm.
So I mean, it was tough. I mean, once the Raiders cut me, I mean, it's kind of that feeling of like you disappointed everybody,
Mhm.
right? I mean, because like, yeah, we 1% of 1%, just to had an opportunity, but like I remember, like after I signed, I mean, they threw like a whole little joint at the church. I'm like, y'all got to make the team, right? So it's a lot of
Right,
added
right.
pressure on me.
Yeah, yeah.
So I got to go back home. I think they cut me on my mama's birthday, right? And
Wow.
I'm like, yo, I was, I was devastated. I went through like depression again. I mean,
Of
I went
course.
through like having to deal with myself, anger, right?
Mm,
Which I had to, it took me a couple like 5 years to figure out like who
mm.
I was and who I wanted to be. And I tell folk all the time, man, like we can't necessarily fall in love with the game of football because at one point football not gonna love us back. Like
Exactly.
I got mad love for the game. But I think what we gotta learn to do is fall in love with our teammates, like
Mhm.
fall in love with those experiences and the growth and appreciate what football brings to us, man. Because when it's gone, if you love the game itself, you're gonna struggle trying to find out who you are,
Exactly.
right? And what I realized is that your teammates and those experiences that you had because of the game of football will always be there. And thus the love that you got to lean on when you get to that phase when the game is gone. Right.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I immediately I went into teaching. Like,
Okay.
I was a part of a teacher training magnet program at Crenshaw. I mean, when I was in high school, so I started teaching. For a while, I started coaching. I was doing behavior therapy, man. So I was staying busy. Like I was
Mhm.
trying to figure out what worked. I mean,
Mhm.
everybody in my family is in education. My mom, well, not everybody. My mom and both of my older sisters are in education, right? So I'm like, I can fall back on teaching. I love the kids. I love serving, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go back and coach at Crenshaw. Uh, and I did that, and I've been coaching at Crenshaw. After I leave here, I'm going to practice at Crenshaw, right?
Mhm.
So that's just my passion. Again, and from there, man, I did some sales work. I worked for Staples Business Advantage, trying to make sure you make enough money. I didn't really
Mhm.
enjoy sales though. Like,
Right.
me trying to sell something to you that I know you need, but you give me a hard time because you don't want to give this money up. Like having to call people and beg people, this wasn't my lane.
Mhm.
Then I went again, All American acting. Football. I know how to play football, right? So I'm
Right.
like, if I can play football, do what I was doing free, and I can do it and get paid, why not? Right. So I
Exactly.
did some stunt work on All American. Uh, but yeah, it was really trying to take what I enjoy, which was sports and service, right? And fusing that into like a career, right? So
Mhm.
that's when I decided, I'm like, man, I mean, I coach, I've been playing football, I've been playing sports all my life. Like, why don't I get a career in sports?
Right.
So that's where I started transitioning to get like my MBA and going back to school to try to work in sports. Initially, the thought process was athletic director, uh, and maybe long term, like NFL or NBA, like a career I'm in now, but working out. But that process emotionally was tough. Like
Yeah.
that was probably one of my toughest battles. And I think for a lot of us, a lot of former athletes, it's our toughest battle because it's trying to figure out who we are outside of
Exactly.
our sport. For a long
Exactly.
time, our sport ranked us. Our sport told us who we were. It told us when we were to wake up,
Exactly.
and it really kind of, I mean, it had control over us in a sense, right?
Exactly. We
Um,
we we were identified as that athlete, and I think that, not to cut you off, but
no,
we go through identity crisis. I realized when I was 27, and I went the other route. I did arena ball for 3 years. I hired new agents. I was really trying to still get it. So I was trying to
yeah,
get new film, shopping at the teams. They telling me, "Hey man, we think you have a player, but shit, you 27. Like we can we can go get this from this 21-year-old over here, and then by the
20,
time
yeah,
he's 27, he all pro player. Like, so
yeah,
that's when I knew, okay, yeah, it's over. It's over with. I did my best, but I went through identity crisis because I sat there and I said, damn, who am I? Like, outside of
mhm,
football, if you remove football from me, if you
right,
remove sports from me, I said, who am I? And I had to go all the way back to my childhood. I had to go back
facts,
to doing plays at the church and my sketchbook when I was small, because once I started playing sports, I did well academically, but it took over my life in an inch on an interest part. Like, so I stopped sketching, I stopped acting in plays, I stopped doing the other things I like doing, and
Exactly.
it was just sports. It was just I played basketball too, so it was football, basketball, and my academics. So though I did well academically, I didn't know who I was, so I had to go back and like, okay, then what do I like to do? What brought me joy? Okay, let me try about this acting, or let me try. I was passionate about problem solving, so now I work in finance, revenue cycle, in the medical field. So, but I had to figure that stuff out, and I had to go back because all those years it was just sports, football. Like you said, they rank you here like with football, and you deem yourself important because you're a football player. Like, so it's like you go through that crisis, man. And like you said, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of emotional work. It's an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah. You have to constantly relearn yourself, man. And I mean, I think that's life through all phases. Like, I have to learn what Noel likes today. Right. And I think a lot of people aren't willing to go through that. Like, I'm supposed to, even with marriage and relationships, like, you got to constantly relearn the person that you put yourself, in a relationship or a situation with. And that's the same thing with ourselves. Like, I got to spend time with myself and be like, you know what? I don't really like this no more. Right. This is something that I enjoy. So now I have to start gravitating and do more things that, that bring me that peace and bring me that joy. And I mean, I think the beauty of that process is once you get through it, like, you appreciate the journey, right? You appreciate the glory after the suffering. And it's so important to constantly spend time with yourself, constantly like find time to realize you are outside of the game. Like you said, you have to go back and like figure out like, what are my joys? And for a long time, football told you what your joy was. And we put away who we are human beings internally in order to be football players, right? It's such a process of breaking ourselves down in order to become the football player that once the football player is gone, now I got to re-break myself back down and figure out who I was before and who I am now in comparison to that. So that's why the story of Kobe, that's why I love the story of Kobe. I love the story of MJ. I mean, for Kobe to be able to switch sides, rest in peace, to switch sides and still be like at the top of his game, but still working on a craft, and still working on his inner child in terms of like storytelling and writing is beautiful. Even Michael Jordan to be on top of the world and decide, you know what, I'm gonna go back and do what I loved as a kid and play baseball. Right. That just speaks to being able to, and I think that we are the best versions of ourselves when we allow ourselves to still dream and experience who Noel was when he was 8 years old.
Exactly.
Right? Because it takes pressure. It takes pressure off of our profession. Right. It allows us to be who we are. Like, oh, I can go all in basketball game or football game. As soon as I leave, I know I can go back to being a kid again.
Right.
Switch sides. So I mean, that's the beauty in life, bro, and just the experiences and get into that point. And I encourage people all the time, man, like get through it. Because once you get through it, it's so beautiful that you realize how simple it was.
Yeah.
You appreciate that journey, man. So yeah, it's an emotional roller coaster. But I think, I mean, we all have it in us to overcome, man. And kind of like my pop said, man, when I was playing Pop Warner, bro, we started, we finished. So even, the profession might change, the outlook of, how people view us. We might not be signing autographs, walking to the, into the college stadium. I mean, but we still got purpose. I mean, we got to just find that purpose that God has for us. Exactly. Once you find that lane and once you find what you were created to do, I mean, it's a different level of peace, man.
Man, I totally agree. I totally agree with the inner child aspect of what you said, and really just truly find out what makes your heart smile. Like, and that's what I had to figure out, during that crisis. And once you figure it out, like you said, like you feel free. You feel free in a way. Like, I'm passionate about story. I'm passionate about storytelling. So that's where this podcast came from. This is a form of storytelling, but we're telling our real, authentic, and organic stories. You know what I mean? And that's where it comes from. I don't care about any money or, whatever I make as far as listenership and stuff like that, but it's just a passion, man. And that's why I just love having these conversations, man. So 2 more things. I know you just got your new role again. Congrats on that. Talk about some things that you may have coming up as the season approaches, right? I think you all probably have 2 more preseason games and then, the season to be here. And then just talk about unfiltered. Just talk about getting that ring, man. I saw the video.
Yeah, bro.
I saw the video.
Man.
And so I know that was a kind of like an insurmountable feeling for you, especially when you think about where you were 2 years ago, right? You at further education, but then you had to take a step back and do the intern route, and just for the stars to align like that, right? For you to get this position, and then you also get a ring, and it's just, and then you're from LA, like just everything,
man, bro.
Your whole experience. When I saw that, I was just smiling when I see that on Instagram. I'm like, man, wow, this dude. I can't wait to talk about his story, because it's like, it's crazy how everything kind of aligned for you. So just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, bro. I mean, it's been a blessing, man. So for a long period of time, bro, probably like, what were we, 2022, like 2 years ago, bro, I was in a tough spot. Bro, when I found out my daughter was on the way, I was depressed, man. I was suicidal, bro. And I think I told this story on my Vessel Talk.
Yeah, I saw that.
But I mean, I lean on the scripture, man. And the Bible says in Romans 8, the suffering of this present time isn't worthy to be compared to the glory that shall be revealed in you. So, I mean, it was a grind getting through that. And then, like, at the same time, realizing your value and your worth, right? And then, seeing it like kind of unfold, right? So, I mean, I turned my Achilles at that same, like right after that, right, hooping, right? So I was going through a lot.
Yeah.
But after that, I mean, it seems like I let myself go. I stopped putting pressure on myself and I started living, right? I started living each and every day, and the stars ended up aligning for me, man. I was teaching at the time, man. I was still in the booth. The Rams ended up, calling me back to interview. Ended up getting an internship. Mind you, while I was interning, I was still kind of teaching. I was still, working at Crenshaw as a football coach, making sure I still gave back to my community. But to see it unfold and to see it get to that point, man, made it just all worth it. I mean, it's beautiful, bro. Like, again, I mean, I'm an LA native, man, Crenshaw district, to be exact, man. And to be able to serve my community working for a world championship organization like the Los Angeles Rams is a dream come true. I mean, just thinking back, I'm like, bro, like in 2014, I got cut before training camp, right? I would never, that Noel would never envision that Noel at this point will be at a training camp, but in this aspect or in this role doing that, right? I was playing with kids all day, man, playing quarterback for both teams, throwing touchdown passes to kids, just having a good time with them when they came to the family zone. And I mean, people look at us like, oh, you're doing this great job. I'm like, yo, this is who I've been. Like, you take me back to, the 90s when we was going outside after watching Static Shock, playing, football grass. Right. You tell me you're gonna give me 11 to 15 dudes and play a football game, like I'll do that for free.
Exactly.
Right. So to be able to be in this role is a blessing, man. And to start off, man, as an intern, I mean, we was grinding. I mean, to be able to, go to the Super Bowl, they put us in a hotel, man. I was able to take my little brother to the Super Bowl. We got to see the Rams win. We went to the Super Bowl after party. To be able to go to the ring ceremony like a month ago. Just got my ring I think it was last Friday. Bro, I can't complain, man. God has been good. He has been faithful. And I mean, the best part of it is that it wasn't given, it was earned. I had to overcome myself. I had to overcome some obstacles in life. And I had to realize that if I want something, I have to be willing to fight for it, just like in ball. I have to take that same mentality that I used in football and apply it to life, right? We tried to be the best football players we could be. We were in that sport. I need to try to be the best parent I could be while I'm a parent. We try to be the best brother I could be, the best employee I can be, like the best friend. So I've gotten to this point now where it's like, I mean, God's put me on this earth to serve. He's put us all on this earth to serve. And I think that we all have testimony. We all have something to give to this world, which is why I love what you're doing, bro, with the podcast. Because we're able to talk about those vulnerable spaces that we were in and tell the stories that people need to hear while they're there.
Exactly.
And to understand that, like, yo, like what you feeling right now, we've all felt before. Everybody's not going to talk about it, but we want to let you know that we've been there before and that you can overcome it as long as you keep stacking the days, bro.
Exactly. Just keep going. Did you have any, like, you just saying that just now, that's it, man, that stuff give me goosebumps, man, because like you say, man, when you grind so hard and you have some accomplishments, but you have some failures, and just did you have like any like imposter syndrome? Like, nah, like
Yeah.
this ain't supposed to be happening right now. But like you said, you earned it, and you know you earned it, and you know you put the work in. But for the stars to align like that, exactly like that, like you're not in a different city, you're in your hometown.
Yeah.
Your hometown team won the Super Bowl. You work for this team, and then after the Super Bowl year, you get your ring, and with the ring, you also get a new position. Like, was that not like a awe moment? Like, yo, something ain't right.
Yeah, I mean, it's God's favor, man, and you could be like, yo, like, why this happening to me? But at the same time, why not you?
Exactly.
Like, I had to remind myself, like, why not you? Like, when you look it down, you break it down. Like, I put in the work. Like, I've given the service. I given the free service for so long. Like, I'm still giving the free service. Like, after I leave here, I'm gonna go back to what I love, right? And I spoke on a panel not too long ago, reminding like some kids who talked about imposter syndrome and talked about going to college. Like, you've paid your dues. Like, you've earned the opportunities that were placed in front of you. And I mean, everybody don't. But you know when you've earned it, right? And it is God favoring His blessings, because I mean, there's probably somebody more qualified. There's probably somebody who was in the pot, who was also just as deserving as you. But God has you here for a reason. So God has me in this position for a reason. And I'm a firm believer that no matter how long I'm here, as long as I continue to like shine my light and let people know that it's only because of God's mercy and His grace that I'm even here today on this earth, and that I'm appreciative, I'm grateful, and I'm thankful that, I mean, He'll continue to stack the blessings from me. So, yeah, bro. I mean, we've had to go through some things throughout this lifetime, and I'm 30, bro. Like, I tell folks, I was a 30-year-old intern, right? Yeah. So for me to sit up here and say, you think you just like, deserve that role at Super Bowl? Yeah, bro. Because how many people at 30 years old was going, take, X amount of dollars, have to send the mail, like have to drive like different vehicles. A lot of people at 30 weren't going to do that, but at 30, I was willing to do that.
Right. So now, especially after leaving graduate school, like, most people can't remove that level of humility, like that level of it. Some people can exude a certain level of humility, but that is like the ultimate level of humility. You are further education, and like you said, you had to go back down to the bottom, like to get to where you are now. It's like, yeah, man, it's admirable, bro. It's admirable.
Appreciate it, bro. I mean, shout out to my parents, man, who always been workers. I mean, again, I said I players in my junior year, and that humbled me to a different aspect. Man, again, I was coming off of my best college season. I mean, and I played by myself, man, and that taught me a different level of humility that I'm still carrying to this day, right? So if I can be up here, athletically, but then put down here as a player, trying to be an Omega man, like in any lane, I know how to come back down here. So I know how to serve. Like, I know how to interact with people, no matter what my title is, no matter what you might think of me. I'm going to come at you like we the same person, because we are the same person. Right. Things could change tomorrow. Right. And I'm just blessed, man. And I want to continue to live and shine my light. And just, inspire people, man. I mean, Nipsey said the greatest human act you can do is to inspire. And I'm a firm believer that we inspire people not by, like throwing what we have currently in their faces, but we inspire by telling people what we've overcome. Right. By showing them like the same thing that you're dealing with, I've dealt with as well. Exactly. And because I dealt with it and I came through, I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna be here to help pull you through and carry you through as well. So That's all. That's it, bro. I had to realize that, man, through depression, or through suicidal thoughts, through imposter syndrome, through identity crisis. As long as I continue to serve, as long as I continue to, to live, to make this world a better place, things will be all right.
Man, great, man. I love that, bro. Last thing, what would you say is Noel Grigsby's after effect of his entire playing career, right? What were some lessons that you learned that you took? And we've already talked about a lot of them, but just expound on them a little bit. What were some lessons that you learned that you took and you carry with you now? You want to try to instill those core beliefs, in your kids, and also, in your new position, as we just try to push the culture forward.
Service for sure. I mean, I think no matter in everything you should do, you should serve. I learned that in college. I mean, I learned that all through high school as well. I mean, in college, we were going back. We were giving our time to the schoolhouse. We'd have kids come who, maybe, kids with autism and things of that nature. So always service. I mean, that's the lane I'm in now. I mean, community engagement is all about service. I grew up in a church, so I mean, I think that we were all put on this earth and commissioned by God to serve people, right? And I think that once you realize that I've been put on this earth to offer my time, right, to offer my gifts, then I think we remove our egos from it, right? It doesn't always have to be money. I think oftentimes we get caught up in, if it don't pay me, like, then it's not for me, and I think that's the completely wrong way to go about it. Because I think God will bless you for the things that you give, that you offer.
Exactly.
And I think giving it, you give not in expectation of something to come back. That's true giving, right? Exactly. Also, man, I think that a lot of people don't really capitalize on the brotherhood aspect and the camaraderie of the game. Exactly. And I think, like we talked about, that'll carry you after the sport. I'm still in a group chat with a lot of my close homies.
Same here.
Like, when we talk, we encourage each other. Like, just like we were encouraging each other on the field, we encourage each other through this phase of life. You know, homies, I mean, we all go through different things at different times. I think that being in that group chat and having that brotherhood and having that camaraderie, we can discuss these things. Like my boy Chandler, who I was just talking about, me and him are 1 and 2 in all categories receiving wise. He just got a internship with the Kansas City Chiefs, right? Bro, I was just an intern, so I know that lane, so we can have that conversation.
Exactly.
Like we was working out for like a year while I was kind of like interning, trying to find my niche, and while he was like kind of going back and forth, transitioning the ball, we was able to like encourage each other throughout that process. So that's that brotherhood that football brings you, that a lot of that everyday life doesn't always bring you, right? So I took those relationships. I'm able to build upon it. I mean, and I tell folk all the time when I go back and speak to them, man, like the people that you go to battle with, the people that you play this sport with, those are going to be the people going to be at your wedding. It's going to be the godfathers to your children.
Exactly.
So take advantage of that, because after the game is gone, those relationships will still be there. And lastly, man, I mean, I think you in order to make it through this lifetime, you have to have some form of faith. Exactly. Right? You have to have a belief. I mean, I believe in God, man. So I say you have to have a belief in God, or a belief that life has you here for a reason, and that you still have purpose. Right. And it's about finding your purpose each and every day. Right. Because my purpose today, I mean, back and it's always to serve, and it's always to do my best to build up humankind. But my purpose in doing that, or my goal in doing that, or my duties to do that, might change day by day. But as long as you keep that thought in your mind, like, this is why I'm put on this earth. This is what I'm put on this earth to do. And I have the purpose, which is why I'm still here. Then you understand your worth. Exactly. Right? You understand your value. Your value is to contribute to the betterment of humankind. That's why God still has you. Right. Your time hasn't expired, because there's still work for you to do. So keep working. I love that. Keep working, man.
Man, service, faith, purpose, knowing your worth, man. I love that after effect, man. So yeah, bro, that's all I had. One thing that I've been trying to do since I started this was, give guys flowers while they're still here. I think that, I'm gonna be honest, as Black man, I just don't feel like we do it enough. Even if you were raised the right way, which I feel like I was. So I've always given guys love and just showed love, but also always like been a competitor and ready to compete as well. But yeah, man, I know we met on the All-American set. I didn't really know you like that on that type of level, but I think that your energy was kind of infectious. I thought that we vibed just off of, football, like you said, and kind of built a relationship. So I'm glad that we've been able to cultivate this relationship and you've been able to join. But everything you've done, man, all the ups, all the downs, all your accolades from college, and again, congrats on your new position. But I just kind of want to show you that love, man, and give you your flowers, bro, while we both still here, man.
I appreciate that, bro. And I mean, it's crazy how set has developed into like this right now, where you creating a platform, for me to tell the story. I mean, for the betterment of somebody else's life being changed, man. So I appreciate you like taking this leap. I mean, because I know it ain't easy, man. You was hawking me down. I'm like, man, mind you, we was in training camp. I'm like, we were training, like, I was like, yo, I was supposed to hit my guy back.
I know. I think I kept talking about that, and I was thinking like, I think that like us being former athletes, that athlete mindset is like, man, I'm not gonna quit. So I knew that you was busy. I knew that I didn't know when it would happen, but I knew the universe would somewhere at some point show itself. And that's why I stayed consistent. I just kept hitting you up like, hey, bro, like, I'm still here. Hey, bro, I'm still here.
Hey, bro, I appreciate you. I appreciate you not like, man, this dude is flugazy. But I'm like, man, right. I'll be like, I feel like I got something to do today. Like, bro, I need to hit the homie back. Right. I mean, even though I wish you was named Kobe, I mean, it's all good, bro. It's all like I don't know how this happened. I don't know. Right. Hey, one day I have to get to Cleveland. I'm gonna have to ask the right questions, man. But I appreciate you creating this platform. I appreciate the energy. I appreciate the vision.
Yes, sir.
And I just appreciate the lives, man, that'll be changed. Not even from my story, but from your story and from all the people that you're gonna have on. Exactly. Because it's important. It's important that people understand like this fight that we got to go through as Black men. Yes. As men in general, but as Black men and as former athletes, because we see it all the time. I mean, we see suicide, and we don't talk about, you know, like the mental health aspect of being an athlete. And that's why, I mean, folks like you creating these platforms that are authentic, and for, you know, average Joes to tell their story is needed for those other folks out here who, you know, who maybe don't have nobody that they can relate to.
Exactly.
Like, so no, I appreciate that too, bro. And I mean, flowers right back to you, man. You deserve it.
Oh yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Even though you're not named after my GOAT, so it's all good.
hey, depending on who you talking to, LeBron,
it changed.
LeBron, Kobe,
Jordan, yeah,
right.
No, that's love.
But yeah, again, bro, I appreciate you joining, man, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, man. And yeah, we'll be in touch, and good luck on your new role. I know you're gonna kill it. And I'll just be tapping in from time to time, bro.
Oh, man, appreciate you, man. Have a blessed one.
All right, you too, man. Peace. So yeah, guys, man, I thought that was a powerful episode 82 with Noel Grigsby. Again, congrats to him on his new role with the Los Angeles Rams. I believe the name was Social Justice Coordinator. I'll get the final name from him before we publish this episode. But man, I mean, again, just all the ups and downs, all the loopholes, all the potholes, all the turbulence, you know, that athletes go through to get to where, you know, they find that glory, right? Find their purpose, what we talked about. Find their purpose and know their value in life, right? So yeah, if you listen to this entire episode on any audio platform, please rate us, please leave us a review. As you know, listenership is one of the ways that we make money. If you watch this on YouTube, please subscribe to LeBron Daniel TV. Please leave a comment if you have a question. I hope that this story and this episode touched someone out there. To keep going, to identify what your value is, and to know your worth, no matter what you're going through, right? Again, merch. As you can see, this is the I call this the Pokemon colorway. As you can see, get close to the camera. After Effects show, and then this is one of the black T-shirts. We just got one of the logos with a couple of basketballs and footballs around there. Then I have LSD Studios on the sleeve. That's my production company where we produce this podcast. Working on a second installment of a short film as well. So yeah, we got the merch. We got the 8-ball, the white and black hat as well, called the 8-ball, and we have these shirts in gray as well. And so yeah, my editor, we're finalizing our website, but as soon as we'll have that done within the next week, and then you all will be able to order, and if you really support the show and have rocked with the 82 guests we've had thus far, yeah, you all will be able to, purchase a hat or purchase a T-shirt. We also have stickers. Got a couple of stickers, and we got some magnets for your fridge. Throw those on there if you've been on the show. Throw those on the fridge, if you will. So yeah, just trying to build this thing out again as we continue to tour these organic, authentic stories. So. Till the next time.
Subscribe to LeBron Daniel TV, but you already knew that, where we dig deep and find our hustle, and every single day we are better than yesterday. Subscribe.